Okay, now we're at milestone number 3 of closing your first deal, and that is to hire your property manager. It's probably the most important decision that you're going to make aside from actually buying the property, because the success of the project depends on the quality of your property manager. A good manager will make your life easy, and a bad one, well, not so much. So I'm going to go over 4 steps to take before you hire a property manager for your real estate deal, and what to do after you bring them onto your team. Well, hey there, and welcome to the ultimate guide to financial freedom with real estate investing. The whole course is here on my channel, and my name is Michael Blanc. I'm a full-time entrepreneur, investor, coach, and what lights me up is helping others become financially free in 1 to 3 years by investing in real estate. Through my investment company, Nighthawk Equity, I control over $300 million of real estate, and more importantly, I've helped others acquire over 14,000 units at a time of this recording. So hit that subscribe button and notification bell now so you don't miss any part of this course. Let's do this. So not only will property managers, of course, manage a property for you, but they also play a key role during the due diligence process, long before you put it even under contract. Because a good property manager will help you assess your business plan for the property. The best way to find property managers is to ask for referrals, primarily from your real estate brokers, and they should know at least a handful of good property managers they do business with all the time. Now the question is, how do you recognize the good ones? Here are 3 steps for selecting the best property management company for your property. Step number 1, how to interview the property manager and what to look for. Step number 1 is to interview the property manager. So here are 10 questions to ask your potential property managers and what to look for. Number 1 is, how long have you been in business? Now look, I'm all rooting for the upstarts, okay? And you might even want to consider someone you like with only a year experience, but in general, the longer they've been around, the better. Number 2 question to ask is, what size properties do you manage the most? For example, if you're looking to purchase a 4-plex building, don't interview a company that specializes in 100+ unit building. Processes and procedures are totally different for these kinds of buildings. So make sure there's a match there. Number 3, what are your management fees for this size building? What is your leasing fee? How else are you compensated, right? So what are the fee structures? Management fees generally range from 4% for larger properties to 10% for much smaller properties for single family houses, for example. Leasing fees range from a half a month to a full month rent. The only other type of conversation is a markup for repairs, for example, typically 10% of the repair. Number 4, what is your process for handling repair requests? How do tenants make requests? How quickly do you typically respond? Who does the work? What do you charge for the work? What you're looking for is, you're looking for a well-defined process. Preferably, tenants can log in online, or maybe there's an app. This gives you transparency instead of process regarding response times, any communication between a tenant and property manager. Now, the property manager should have a network of contractors they're already working with to handle repairs to the property. And they may charge, up to 10% over and above what the contractor charges for the repair. Or maybe they're using their own staff, ideally. You want to ask, how are emergency and non-business hour calls handled? Who calls them? What's the number? And then how do they ensure that their prices continue to be competitive over time? Do they rebid jobs, etc.? Number 5, how do you collect rents? Who keeps the late fees? So offering automatic debit, for example, shows a higher level of sophistication than someone who collects the rent in person. The late fees can go to the managers, or maybe they're split, or they all go to you. This is somewhat negotiable. Just know this up front. Number 6, what are your management policies? For example, when and how do you handle lease violations and evictions? You're looking for a fair and consistent process. For example, the manager might say the rent is considered late on the 5th day of the month, at which point I will send out a late letter warning them they have until the 21st day to pay their rent, or we will start the eviction process. I then file the eviction on the 22nd day if no payment is made. I will continue to communicate with the tenant through the entire process. That is a sign of a fair and consistent management policy. Number 7, you might want to know how many evictions you've handled and what is the cost of a typical eviction. The more evictions, the more experience to have. Now, the cost varies widely by region, so make sure you ask. Update your financial analysis accordingly to the cost. Number 8, what is the expected vacancy and delinquency rate for this area? Again, update your financial analysis with the answer. Number 9, what reports do you provide? At a minimum, you should expect an income and expense statement and a rent roll each month. Both are typical. You also want to see any kind of delinquency. For extra credit, you could ask for a repair and maintenance report that documents the description, cost, and turnaround time for every repair made. Number 10, how do you handle the fund? For example, are you going to get a separate bank account, or is it mingled with others? Obviously a separate bank account is preferred, but many property managers don't do this for properties that are smaller, maybe under 20 units or so. Now, the advantage of a separate account is that, of course, you can get a monthly bank statement in addition to the P&L statement you're going to get, and that gives you additional visibility into how your money is being handled. A question could be, what reserve does he or she require before they make a distribution to you? Typically, the manager will require a certain minimum in bank account and will forward any excess to you as a distribution. So make sure throughout all this that you interview at least 3 property management companies, and that's going to give you a better feel for what to look for and help you decide which company you like best. Step number 2 is to review the manager's document. At the end of your meeting, you ask these 10 questions. Ask the manager to send you a sample of his or her contracts. You're looking at leases, late letters, etc., everything to have. Any kind of accounting reports. And then also request a list of references. But first, if you're enjoying this video, hit that subscribe button, please. Step number 3 is to check references. If you like what you've heard so far, the answer to questions makes sense, the documents look pretty good, then call the references and ask the references the following questions. How happy are you with the manager? What is he or she doing particularly well? What is one thing he or she could improve? Why would you recommend your manager? Step number 4 is to review the property management agreement. Right? Again, the devil is in the details sometimes. And read that management agreement carefully. Sometimes there's some weird things in there. For example, in one of my contracts, it stated that the property manager has 30 days to exercise a first right of refusal to purchase a property if I list it. What? That's ridiculous. I don't want the manager to delay a contract for that period of time. It's just an example. The point is, read that daggone thing carefully and ask any questions if they don't make any sense to you. There's a lot of details here, and I'm hoping you're getting a lot of value in this, but if you want help, if you want access to resources, then book a call with us at themichaelblank.com/call and just schedule a call. We have training courses, something for everyone. We have online training courses. We have mentoring where we can work one-on-one with a mentor. So if anything like that is interesting to you, you think might accelerate the process of getting into your first deal and quitting a job, book a call. Let's explore what we can do together. That's at themichaelblank.com/call. Next steps. All right, now let's talk about some next steps here. Now that you have all the information about the property manager, it's time for a little bit a gut check, right? So you got a lot of information here. Let's check in. Sometimes the person looks good on paper, but your instinct is telling you something else. Definitely look at all the pros and cons. I'm very analytical, right? But at the end of the day, I still do a gut check. So make a decision, and then you're gonna have to adjust later as necessary, but you got to make a decision right now. All right, so once at closing, you give the keys to the management company. That company should communicate to the tenants that there's a new manager in charge. They're probably going to communicate a new mailing address where they can send the checks, a new phone number, maybe there's some new rules and regulations booklet. Now be aware that bringing on a new manager may cause several tenants to stop paying their rent. And my theory is that these tenants are testing the new manager to see what they can get away with. How the manager responds quickly, consistently, and fairly will determine the level of respect they get from the tenants. Okay, now you completed milestone number 3 where you hired your property management company. Let's move on to our next milestone, which is to secure financing. So let me know your thoughts right now on the management piece of it. Any questions you have in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video on financing.